Hey everyone, Average Sniper here. The following is a clip from my friend's podcast that he invited me on, link in the video description. But he asked me how I originally got into gaming, streaming, social media, and I thought it was a really interesting topic. So I'd also like to hear from you guys. If you'd be kind enough to go into the comments section and tell me how you got into gaming or any kind of live streaming that you do, and smack the like button. But most importantly, please enjoy the rest of the video, and thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, but if we
So it
talk
makes it
about
more
shortness, then we are the same, except for I'm a little bit taller than you, and my car is a little bit bigger than yours. So,
Are you people seeing this? Look at this height difference. This is not camera positioning. This
yeah,
is
he
this
raised
is real.
he raised his chair up for y'all to make it seem it's mind games. But before we get off of here, what was your motivation for gaming and deciding like, I want to do this, as well as because I remember you first started out without a camera. Like, there's a lot of people that start out without a camera and they still don't have a cam. So, like,
Well, I didn't start out as a live streamer.
Right. It was just the content, right?
When I started live streaming, by the time I started live streaming, I think I already had like around 30,000 subscribers.
Okay.
It was all content up until then. And I did some test streams occasionally, but I didn't actually start regular live streaming until Battlefield Battlefield Hardline. I would live stream Hotwire lobbies, and that was fun. But then I really nailed down the schedule, and I still don't have a solid schedule. But when I say nailed down the schedule, I mean streaming 3 to 5 times a week. When Battlefield 1 came out, we had the live stream team, which changed a lot. But it was like me and Thorfinn and Waxy Chicken and Sam and Brandon and Rogue. That was his name, Rogue. And we did a lot of Battlefield 1 stuff, and that slowly faded away and moved to PUBG and just started streaming that. But what do you ask? What's the actual question here? My motivation be for gaming in general or streaming in general, or both?
Both.
Okay, so I've always been a gamer since 1988 when my dad brought home a Commodore computer before Windows was even a thing. We had to put 5.5-inch floppy disks in, slide the thing down, and type in commands like MS-DOS commands. It wasn't even MS-DOS back then. I don't think it was owned by Microsoft. It was just DOS or something else entirely. I don't know. But we had to type in commands to like start a game that was on the disk. This was before computers had hard drives built into them. Mm-hmm. Like only the incredibly expensive computers had dedicated hard drives. You would put a disk in, turn the computer on, and the computer would boot to whatever file system was on that disk. And if it was a game, you would have to type in some commands to see where the game was, and then type in the exe, and the game would start. And it would be like Atari in television type of graphics, So I got started with gaming when I was like 4 years old in like 88, 89, when my dad brought home a computer, showed us how to use it. And then we were very sheltered children, so we didn't have much to do other than play games on our computers, and we were not allowed to have consoles. We can only play games on our computer. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was, other than they didn't want us sitting around playing video games all day, but it was okay as long as we were doing it on a PC. Okay. So I have to say my parents were hashtag PC Master Race from the 80s. Vacations to my grandma's, we would get to play SNES and Mario and Double Dragon, Battletoads, whatever we could play. We would go to the game rental place and do it. Yeah, aren't they? So we would only get 2 weeks a year, and we would know life those games. And we were in Florida. We lived in Indiana, and we would come to Florida for vacation. So instead of going to the pool and everything, we would spend all our spare time just playing as much console games as we could. Took a big break from gaming when I got older, and like middle school and high school, I didn't game much. But when I moved out and Xbox 360 came out and I saw how crazy the graphics were, I got back into gaming, started playing Gears of War, Dead or Alive, and eventually Call of Duty. And I really enjoyed the Xbox controller, and I did that for like 5 or 6 years before I finally switched back to PC. But I saw people making YouTube videos of their gameplay, and I would have like these really fantastic gameplays, and I would want to share them with people. But it actually goes back before that, before social media existed, before there was a MySpace, before there was a Facebook, when the internet was basically in its infancy stages, before people had a lot of cell phones. I had built a website for one of the games I played where people could upload level packs and make reviews, and that website was getting thousands of hits per day. Back then, that was the equivalent of hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Like if a site was getting millions of views today, that would be the equivalent in the year 2000 for the thousands of hits per day my site was getting.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before ad-based revenue. So I wasn't making any money. I was doing this because part of my enjoyment with video games is sharing my experience with other people. So before there was live streaming, social media, being able to record your gameplay, I was building websites for the games that I enjoyed and sharing content as much as I could on like a dial-up modem, you know?
Yeah.
So that was my motivation for gaming, and in general is to share my experience with other people. I've always been interested in multiplayer games, never had an interest for story mode games. And if it's multiplayer, even if it's just me and my brother in the basement playing from one computer to another over a LAN, I'm into it, you know? And if I can share that content with other people so they can feel my experience at the same time, that's what really got me into recording my gameplay, uploading videos, and later into streaming. If you were to take away the streaming and the video content creation aspect, I would still get some enjoyment out of playing games and do it occasionally. But ever since I was a kid, half my motivation for gaming has always been to share that experience with other people. So I would say if you take that away, I'd be half the gamer, you know, that I am today, because that's always been my motivation. It's not like when YouTube came out, I changed. I was always interested in finding ways to share my gameplay with other people. That was just a big thing for me. I've always been fascinated with the internet and sharing information, and gaming and information sharing, I think, just goes hand in hand for me. So
damn.
That's why I got into it. My dad got me into gaming by giving us computers and games to play on when we were kids. And because we always had internet access, I got into the social media aspect of it even before it was so user friendly and anybody, you know, could do it. I was all about making websites for the games I loved, just, you know, fan websites and stuff.
That's awesome. And like I said, like, I remember you telling me that story before, and I'm like this dude is like intelligent. Like, not anybody can just do what you did. You know what I'm saying? So like, and that might,
it was more of a fascination of the early internet. Like, I was simply lucky enough to have parents that provided me with a computer and full internet access at such an early age. I mean, growing up in the 90s as a preteen and teenager, almost none of my friends had computers. I was like the only one. Mm-hmm. My brother did too, and he was way more into the gaming than I was. I liked the games, but I focused highly on information sharing and how to build websites and how to make graphics. You know, it fascinated me. So I'm not saying I'm unintelligent, but that was more like my hobby. You know, like I was like, I want to know how to share information. And I have this tool called the internet that's brand new, and everybody's starting to use it. And how can I be the one that builds the stuff? Nowadays, I'm less interested in building stuff because it's so advanced and so corporate now. It's seriously been taken over, you know, by it's just huge. You know, you got Amazon and Google and YouTube and Kick and Twitch and all these huge corporate streaming sites. So there's less of a wild west internet for you know, users like me. And now we just use the tools that these big companies provide to share our content. But back then it was more fascinating for me because you had to do it from scratch. You had to build your own website. You had to write your own code. You had to know how to do it. And it wasn't that hard. It was just a fascination. I would compare it to the same as someone that like wants to teach themselves how to play piano. It might be hard, but if you have a passion for it, you can teach yourself how to read those notes and how to play and practice, even without a teacher, you know, until you get better. So that's how it was for me with gaming and internet sharing. I just spent all my time as a young person teaching myself the things that fascinated me, you know?
Yeah.
So,
fun fact. And this was like before I even started, like YouTube, I would upload gameplay from the PS4 onto Facebook.
Oh yeah.
And so like, and it's funny because like, I was doing this before there was even.
You could do that from PS4, right?
Yeah.
It had social media links. Like you could do those 30-second clips and tell it to upload like the 480, 720 version. And
yeah, but then I started doing like full games. So it'd be like 20-minute matches of Battle or Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was like I didn't.
So you just built on it from there. You're like, I want to do more with this.
Exactly. Like, and I wanted to put more effort into it because it's like, I could only do so much from a PS4, right? It was like, okay, I can just upload it, but I can't edit it or anything like that. Actually, I think you could edit, but I didn't want to spend the time on it.
To a small degree.
Yeah.
I remember that. I had a PS4 and I would play around with the editing features. But by the time I had a PS4, I already had a capture card too. So I was like, why mess around with this pleb stuff when I can just full on capture it in 1080?
Yeah. I mean,
no.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all I got. I got some things I gotta go do. But I appreciate you spending some time this morning and talking gaming, man.